All right, guys, what's up? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. So, yeah, we got some Call of Duty 2025 news. Go figure. So, now, I saw Charlie Intel post this, and that's where I initially saw it. So, but the original source comes from Insider Gaming, I guess. So, with this, we're going to discuss the very little information that we know that could or could not be exciting. However, I am also going to talk about the obvious elephant in the room towards the end of the video because, well, we're all kind of thinking it in the back of our minds anyway. But I'm going to read this out to you and then we'll discuss. So, and I quote, it says, "Breaking, Call of Duty 2025 is reported to be set to be a direct sequel to Black Ops 2 set in the near future of 2030. It'll reportedly have a mix of new multiplayer maps and remastered Black Ops 2 maps. It'll also have updates to movement, pick 10, and round-based zombie maps." Okay, so this is what I'm thinking when I'm thinking of this. Now, obviously, as far as setting is concerned, it absolutely makes sense, right? Because the game itself is going to be released in 2025. The original Black Ops 2's setting took place in 2025. So even though this setting is to take place in 2030, it's 5 years later, it's a direct sequel. And if you ask me, that's actually kind of genius because Black Ops 2 is one of the best Call of Duties ever made. From a totality standpoint, Black Ops 2 really is one of the GOATs because the campaign was solid. There were at least I think three different endings in terms of choice. You could create a class inside the campaign, which was the first time at the time to where you could do that. Again, it took place many years after Black Ops 1. There were flashbacks, etc., etc. So, and then again, this was at the time when I actually played campaigns when it comes to Call of Duty. I was still a noob when Black Ops 2 came out during that game's life cycle. So, lots of fond memories to be had with that game, right? So, anyway, now, this is why it also makes sense to where it says it'll reportedly have a mix of new multiplayer maps and remastered Black Ops 2 maps. This absolutely makes sense because, again, Black Ops 2 took place in the year 2025. But I really hope that they bring back Black Ops 2 maps that we have not seen over the last handful of years. Because over the last handful of years, we've seen the same old Black Ops 2 maps. And don't get me wrong, Raid is great, Standoff is great, Hijacked is great, and a few of the others that we've seen are great, you know. What's the other one? Express, I think it's called. You know, those are great and all. I get it. I respect them. But we played the living hell out of them for so many years. So I'm hoping that they bring back some of the other Black Ops 2 maps that are solid, but we just haven't seen in a while. For instance, I would really like to see Plaza. I would really like to see Meltdown. Yemen wasn't a bad map either. So it's like, what's wrong with some of those maps? And of course, Black Ops 2 also had like some pretty damn good DLC maps as well. But we've seen some of those as well brought back. So please do not bring back the same maps that we've seen time and time again because it just shows cut and paste. And that's actually something that kind of concerns me because if it is going to be those maps that we've seen time and time again, it's like that to me just says cut and paste, you know, and I'm sure that the developers themselves, fingers crossed, can hopefully at least create new great maps. I mean, it's not like these developers don't have any chops to create anything new that could fit. It's not just for the, you know, as far as the competitive scene is concerned, you know, because obviously for competitive maps like, you know, like Raid and Standoff and Express and a few of the others that we've seen, they obviously play great for competitive. But with that being said, there's also other maps out there that are great as well. But we're not, you know, competitive should never be the #1 focus anyway. It should be, you know, casuals, the pubs. So I don't mind those Black Ops 2 maps, but at the same time, I really would just like to see new Black Ops 2 maps that were never brought back since the days of Black Ops 2. And of course, having a mix of new multiplayer maps is great. I mean, obviously. Let's see. And here's the other part where it says it'll also have updates to movement. Now, the first thing that thinks to me is I don't think it's going to have something like a jetpack that we've seen in Black Ops 3. I think it's going to have something more subtle. Maybe a dash of some kind, something like that. It may be related to how the perks work in the Pick 10 system, because it'll also have upgrades to Pick 10, as it says here. And of course, fans love round-based zombies. I think we can all agree to that, even though I'm not... I think we can all certainly agree to that. And the one thing that I would say is that if Treyarch is trying to bring back a lot of that Treyarch magic, number one, I say good for them. But number two, you can't just rely on nostalgia. I think the last handful of years have pretty much proven that. You know, you can't catch lightning in a bottle twice. You know, I like what they're doing in terms of the setting to making a direct sequel to Black Ops 2. I think that's great. And as far as the gameplay is concerned, if you're going to match the setting to with the gameplay, I think that's a unique spot as well. But remember, we don't want to repeat too much, right? We don't want to repeat like literally everything, or else it's going to get bland very quickly. So I think whatever they do with the movement system, I think it's going to be something a lot more subtle, because again, there's so many mixed opinions on the advanced movement from both skilled and non-skilled players alike. But I think it'll be very interesting to see what they do, because if they add something into the movement that actually makes it unique, and something that is also easily accessible to new players as well, like easy to get into, hard to master, kind of like what Call of Duty is at its core, or at least is supposed to be at its core, then I think we could be in for a solid year. And of course, as we get to the end of this video, what is the elephant in the room? Of course, skill-based matchmaking / engagement optimized matchmaking. As long as that algorithm remains in the game, it's going to ruin the game, unfortunately. So if they remove it, which they're not going to talk about it either, right? If they're going to remove it, people are not going to talk about it. Like, if they want to avoid drama from skill-based matchmaking, if they want to avoid pressure and all that kind of stuff, guess what? The best way to avoid it is to get rid of it. And then people will stop talking about it, other than the fact that they got rid of it. And then once they get rid of it, and people have talked about it once, they're not going to talk about it again. They're not going to continuously say, "Oh, these guys got rid of skill-based matchmaking time and time again." It's like, once we got rid of it and we're focused on the fun, that's what we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on the other problems and issues that games have, that the game has, that would inevitably make it better, you know, by addressing the certain problems. And of course, it makes for content as well, because content creators are always going to have something to talk about and to cover. However, with that being said, if everything is positive, like, well, obviously not everything about every game is positive, but if everything is good and everybody's genuinely having fun, then content creation will be more fun. There'll be more videos to be had, more ideas to come out, and more positive constructive criticism, and just kind of a way to kind of make Call of Duty that game that it once was. And again, like I said, you can't catch lightning in a bottle twice, but I don't know, man. I mean, if you've been there before, you can certainly get there again. It's just about making the right moves, and one of the best moves that they can do right now is remove engagement optimized matchmaking. If they do that, the game at the very least would be a lot more fun to play, and all the content that they would create behind the game would make it overall better, because you can use all the content as opposed to meta. And not to mention the matchmaking and all that other stuff. So, but with that being said, I want to know your opinions down below. If this is true, does it sound good to you, or does it sound like, meh, I want something completely new and I don't want the familiarity of Black Ops 2 anymore? And does it concern you from a design standpoint? Does it concern you that we're going to have 2 years in a row of Treyarch? Because don't get me wrong, I'm a Treyarch fanboy. They're my favorite of the three. But the question is, number one, is it the same old Treyarch? And number two, you know, why 2 years of them in a row? You know what I mean? So they've already passed the 3-year mark, and they're on their way to year 4. So I'm thinking the 2024 COD, the one that we're getting next, is close to being finished, if not finished already, and just polishing and just kind of making sure everything is smooth as possible. And then they're already in the middle of development of the COD 2025. So that's what I'm thinking. And if that's not the case, then I guess we can consider a hell of a lot and cut and paste, unless there's something else that we don't know yet that will be revealed in due time. But with that being said, guys, I want to know down in the comment section what you think. Do you believe this? Do you not believe this? I'm legitimately curious. And with that being said, thank you all very much for taking the time to watch and or listen, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.